Shalom, dear friends of TJCII. Thank you for taking the time to read our newsletter or view this video. I appreciate it so much. I'm Marty Waldman. I'd like to share just a few thoughts about the week that we have just concluded. Jews have just concluded the week of Passover. Christians have just concluded what is called Holy Week. And Messianic Jews and Christians alike both celebrate the death, burial, and resurrection of our Messiah, Yeshua. Of course, the broader Jewish community doesn't recognize Yeshua yet, but we are praying, and please join me in praying for the salvation of our people, Israel. I'd like to share a few thoughts that occurred to me during this Passover week, during this week of Passover. In Exodus chapter 12, we see Moses having written down instructions, basically how to keep Passover. And it was instructions for the people who were in Egypt. Basically, it was kill a lamb, put the blood on the doorposts of your house, and when the death angel comes, he will pass over your houses and you will be delivered. So in Exodus chapter 12, we find these instructions. That there's something very curious at the end of Exodus chapter 12. That is, Moses includes a discussion about Gentiles who want to join Israel, people of the nations who want to join Israel in this great deliverance from Egypt. Just a few verses prior to that, we are told that there was a mixed multitude who believed Moses, put the blood of the lamb on the door frames of their houses, and they also were delivered from the 10th plague, which was the death of the firstborn in Egypt, so that they left Egypt and traveled with Israel. Okay, so now Jews, or the Israelites, have a group of Gentiles. We don't know exactly how many, but a number of Gentiles traveling with Israel out of Egypt toward the promised land. And so Moses gives instructions about how do people of the nations join in to celebrate Passover. And so it's a very interesting discussion and instructions that God gave to Moses. And I'd like to boil it down just by saying that the ones who are called to celebrate Passover, Moses says, must be circumcised. And so, of course, there's a little bit of a controversy about what that means. Does it mean we must be circumcised to offer the Passover sacrifice, or just to eat Passover dinner and celebrate Passover? Well, either one works. But in Exodus 12, we are instructed of how a person from the nations can enter into the celebration of Passover. I'd like to skip up to Joshua to see what happened with Joshua, because deliverance took place in Egypt, but then our own forefathers didn't believe God and wandered in the wilderness for 40 years, rather than taking a short trip into Israel to get to the land of promise. We wandered for 40 years because we rejected the word of the Lord, that he would be with us and deliver us into the land of promise. So Joshua crosses the Jordan River. And by the way, for those of you who didn't remember or don't remember or don't even know, the Jordan River was parted just as the sea was parted for Moses. God parted the Jordan River for Joshua and the company of Israel and all who came with Israel. And God instructs Moses to say, hey, look, you need to circumcise the sons of Israel a second time, because Israel was not, the children born in the wilderness were not circumcised during that journey. So he says, circumcise again for the second time. And so all the men of Israel were circumcised. And now I'm guessing, but I suppose that those who continued to journey with Israel and to join Israel, the men there were also circumcised as someone who wanted to remain with the people of Israel, the people of God. And Moses allows for the joining of Gentiles to the people of God, to the household of God. Now, circumcision is an interesting phenomenon. It happens to every male, Jewish male. At least that's the instruction. However, we know both from the Torah, from the Tanakh, the Old Testament, and from the Brit Chadashah, the New Testament, that circumcision of the heart is what draws us near to God, not only circumcision of the flesh, which is a sign of the covenant that God made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So the people of God are told, both in the Torah and in the prophets, Moses said it. Listen to what Jeremiah said. The people of Yehudah, the inhabitants of Jerusalem, circumcise yourselves for Adonai. Remove the foreskins of your heart. He says in another place, don't just tear your garments, but rend your heart. God is really interested in the heart. And so I love these words from the Apostle Paul, from Rav Shaul in Romans chapter 3, verses 29 through 31. I'll read them to you. Is God the God of the Jews only? Isn't he also the God of the Gentiles? Yes, he is indeed the God of the Gentiles, because, as you will admit, God is one. Therefore, he will consider righteous the circumcised on the ground of trusting, and the uncircumcised through that same trusting. Does it follow that we abolish Torah by this trusting? God forbid, heaven forbid. On the contrary, we confirm the Torah. So let me say that circumcision of the heart does not nullify circumcision of the flesh for Jewish people, but circumcision of the heart does bring Jewish and Gentile believers in the Messiah together, as Rav Shaul further wrote in Ephesians chapter 2. And he said, those of you who were far off, Gentiles, you have been brought near into the household of Israel by the blood of Yeshua. Think of the blood of the Lamb that delivered us out of Egypt. The blood of Yeshua has now brought you into the household of faith by your faith, through the grace of God, by the blood of Yeshua. So this is really, in essence, what TJCII is about. Toward Jerusalem Council 2 is seeking to bring Jewish and Gentile believers back together by the blood of the Messiah, Yeshua, into a place of peace with one another, to be co-inheritors of the promises of God together. So I want to thank you, those of you who have drawn near to the Lord, drawn near toward Jerusalem Council 2, to the realities of the Messianic Jewish community, to the rebirth of the people of Israel, and the rebirth or the resurrection of the Messianic Jewish community from the first century. Thank you. We are designed to be together and to share a mutual blessing with one another in our Lord and our Messiah, Yeshua. So bless you. God bless you. If you would care to donate to TJCII in the efforts we are making toward this reconciliation of Jew and Gentile in the Messiah, please click the button below that says donate, and you can donate online. Thank you so much, and God bless you.